Hello, Steve White, Steve White 89. Well, we've got some photos of the transporter room from Strange New Worlds. It's interesting. I'm glad they made some changes, sort of. It kind of doesn't make any sense because we've already seen the transporter room in Discovery and Short Treks, and yet they've changed it. Now, they haven't changed it a lot, but they've changed it. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense why it would change. But again, the internal consistency of the new Trek sort of shows hasn't been consistent through Discovery's run. They changed things for no reason a few times. So, okay. But the main thing that they've done is they've removed this big chunk of technology in the middle of the transporter pad and the ceiling as well, which really just stood out as very anti-technology, backwards, sort of clunky. They didn't, of course, have the rights to use the original designs, so they had to make different designs, but they still had to make it recognizable. So they would just do these really odd things just to distinguish their designs from the original designs. And quite often these things wouldn't be complementary, they'd be to the detriment of the design overall, but they just had to differentiate them. And because the original designs were so perfect and so beautiful and so futuristic and amazing, they couldn't help but take a step back with their designs when they had to change them. So like they had this, instead of this smooth transporter pad, they had this big piece of chunky technology that you trip over in the middle of it. Whereas in the original, I think they used the center pad as well, or even they would just use it for space. So it had a function, whereas this chunk of technology didn't. It just was a big circle with something lit in the center and like little slats. It just didn't make any sense while I was there. So they removed that, thank God. But the actual the consoles note actually looked pretty good. Just looking at the pictures again, because the original, it pretty much just looked like, I mean, not the original, but the one from Discovery, it pretty much just looked like the Discovery consoles note, which is just sort of strips of light and buttons you couldn't really see. They're angled so you can actually see them. They've got separate black panels for different areas, which kind of resemble a little bit the Star Trek The Motion Picture and early Star Trek bridge designs from the movies, but they still have the touch screens within the separate pads. And then they have, of course, the 3 sliders in their own little physical tactile sort of pad where you can actually like run your fingers down and pull the actual, not pull the levers down like in the original, but run down the touchpad to actually, you know the motion that I mean. So they're going to have that motion. So you're going to have that similar feel to the original. And they are black with the lit panels, mostly orange buttons, yellow and orange buttons, kind of like the original, with some blue screens with some blue images on it, which is what we see. The walls are mostly grey. The main thing that bothers me about it, and there's 3 things we've gotten pictures of here, but the main thing that bothers me is, well, for starters, the original one had orange around, sort of like an orange-reddy colour around each transporter pad, not the whole floor, but just the pad. And there was just no line between the black and the red or orange, but now they put like a grey or gold line around it, and it does make it look too noisy and complicated and unnecessary. So that's an extra detail they didn't need. And there's also an issue with the lighting. There's a lot of the original set, they just had 3 strips of neon lighting around each step, which does seem a bit much, but could be sort of justified as, to stop people from tripping up the steps by, lining the edge of it. But they went and added an extra line of orange. And the background, although they've changed it, the look of it technologically, it looks, instead of the background of Strange New Worlds and that, Short Treks, was basically just a panel with like a blue pattern on it, which didn't really make any sense. It just sort of looked similar to the original, but not really. In this one, they've got these lines which look like part of the system, and it looks like technology. It looks like something is moving through it. It looks like data or something is moving through them, but they're green. So they basically took the worst elements of the original design, which was the colours from the 60s, the orange and the green, and they brought that into the set, which was mostly red. The colour, only the colour was red and the blue background, and that works much better. It had the same feel, but it just looked more modern. It just looked better. And this, physically they've changed it. It looks better, but the colours are awful. The green and the orange, it does resemble more the colours of the original one, but that wasn't the best element of that design. So it's really weird. They have improved it, but they've also made it worse at the same time. Because the orange is just, I never liked the orange. When they made it a deep red and darkened it, that was good. But the lighting is like bright orange. And the green, like I said, it just, the structure of it works. It looks like you're looking through like a panel and seeing technology behind it, but it's green. So they took the worst elements, what I guess they saw as what defined it as Star Trek, because the negative view that they have of the show. And yeah, so I like that they've replaced the chunky piece of technology in the center with just another lit section, which could be another transport pad. They've kept the top of the transport pads, which was sort of like a lit section with a lined section with sections cut out around it, which kind of looked okay. It didn't bother me. But yeah, the orange lighting, the orange neon lighting and the green lighting in the back, it doesn't work. But I don't know, it's like good and bad. It's like I'm still not happy because the original, I think I was less I don't know. I wasn't happy with either. Now, they've also shown the plaque of the Enterprise, and it looks very much like the original, just a little bit more detailed. It says USS Enterprise, Starship Class Constitution, San Francisco, California. And it says to boldly go where no one has gone before. That's fine. And it's on a grey background. And you can see a little bit of the texture of the wall, which kind of looks just very much grey and monochrome. And you've got these little touches like the brass panel and the orange and that. And like I said, the JJ Films did a better job of lightening up the panels and making it sort of lighter and look more bright and futuristic somehow, but they kept the colour kind of dark and that kind of contrast, and they took away from the oranges and made it a deeper red, which still gave it like a colour to contrast all the grey and the white and everything, but it had a deeper contrasting, so it just sort of worked better. Whereas this, they've gone with the original oranges, more of an orange red like the original. And I mean, they did that because it was the 60s and they were selling colour TVs and they really needed the colour. So some of it was too much. Most of it works and is really beautiful. And I like other shows like I Dream of Jeannie. All these shows have a lot of colour in them. And I think it actually works a lot better when you watch shows with colour. It affects you emotionally more so than all these grey, monotone, dark, dull, sort of dreary sort of palettes that we're seeing in shows now. But yeah, they just sort of targeted the things that looked the worst about the original series sets and said, well, that defines Star Trek. Let's put that in these sets. And I'm like, oh, God, they missed the chance of taking what was good about the Star Trek sets and designs and improving it and adding on it. So, yeah, I mean, God. So I'm wondering what they're going to do to change the bridge. I mean, I'm guessing they will. It wasn't an entirely separate set, whereas the transporter room was being shared by Discovery, so maybe they just wanted to put it back to what Discovery had and then build a new set for Strange New Worlds. But it does look like they've taken elements, so whether they've just moulded the same things or whether they've actually just redressed the same set, I'm not 100% sure, because it does look bigger, it does seem to have a little bit more space behind it, like they've built it out, but yeah, I'm not sure. The other thing they showed us, this is from Discovery, they showed us the wall, like the LED wall where they are projecting special effects so you can have a planet, and they're going on and on about how this new technology, and it's like, it just kind of looks like a painted backdrop. Back in the day, they would just put up a plain colour and light it with lights, or they'd actually physically paint a background and then build distant sets around it and then have the actual set. And it has the same effect, and you can film on it instead of having to do special effects. Just like in the old days, they would just paint the back of the wall and do the same thing. So I don't really see it as this amazing, marvellous, modern, new technology. I'm like, it just looks like they're doing the same thing they used to. They're just using an LED wall instead of literally painting the wall, which is quicker, of course, because you can just change the image. So it does have some advantages, but it really films the same, and really, it's just kind of funny. kind of funny that they're sort of really reveling in this new technology, and it just looks like what they did back on the 1960s show. So yeah, so those are the new set shots that we've got. We've got transporter pads, transporter room, and the new LED wall, and of course the plaque. And I'm looking at some pictures of the old bridge, and I mean the old transporter room. It looked better. The new one is so cluttered. The extra orange strips, all the green panels. It's just so noisy and loud, and you don't know where to look. It's just like looking at like an explosion of lines and fluoro and neon. It's too much. I'm gonna go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. What did you think of the images? I really don't know. There's things I like and things I hate, and I'm just hoping that doesn't reflect the whole series. I do still have hopes for Strange New Worlds.